Hello everybody, I'm Ramses.
And I'm the Vesper.
And we're here for a very sad but needed special edition of Vespors Retro Reviews. Unfortunately, our hero, our icon, one of our favorite retro icons is no longer with us. Hulk Hogan, real name Terry Bollea, passed away on July 24th, 2025 at the age of 71, and it hit us hard. You know, we've done a lot of stuff here related to Hulk Hogan on our channel. He was very important to my childhood, and I know Vesper felt the same way about Hulk Hogan. And, you know, many icons from our childhood die, and we don't do trivias to them, but Hulk Hogan is one of those that he is above everyone else in the terms of what he meant to children, to entertainment, to media, to movies, TV, cartoon series, games. I mean, Hulk Hogan is one of those names that, oh my god, we lost one of the biggest American pop culture icons, and we definitely had to do a tribute here just to share our feelings that we lost a legend. We really lost a legend of a man in Hulk Hogan.
Now, this is just about our thoughts about Hulk Hogan, or Terry Bollea, and the fact that we're going to give what he meant to us. If you wish to learn all about Hulk Hogan's amazing career, you need to go and research it. This is just our thoughts on what the Hulkster meant to us growing up as kids. So please don't forget to leave your own stories about the Hulkster in the comments section below.
And speaking of comments, we are going to keep this clean. I'm not a fool. I know we do retro here. I understand there are controversies and there's things later in his life that didn't sit well with people. We're not here for that. If you want to talk about that, go to another place. This is Vespors Retro Reviews. We talk about retro. We talk about history. We're going to talk about the man's life. He's no longer with us. You don't have to like him, but we are not going to be here and bashing someone who's no longer with us. And we're not going to say right or wrong. This is to keep it professional. We're going to talk about our memories with him, and we hope that you share your thoughts and what he meant to you growing up. And if you want to badmouth him, there's plenty of other places to do it. We're not going to do that here. This is to honor Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, from August 11, 1953 to July 24, 2025. May he rest in peace. Died of a heart attack, while so many wrestlers due to heart issues due to their abuse on their bodies. And Hulk Hogan lasted a lot longer than some of the others, but not long enough. 71 is way too young for a legend like this to no longer be with us. And he had so much he was still up to. He was still very active, and to just be gone just like that is such a shock. You're never ready when someone 70 years old is suddenly no longer here, and he was so beloved and such an icon. And again, I know in current history he's not, but in the past, and that's what we're going to talk about, what he meant to both of us.
Let's go ahead and talk about what Hulk Hogan meant to me growing up. I still remember the first time that I was actually introduced to wrestling. At this point, I'm happy with the early morning Saturday cartoons. And then they go, hey, let's watch this thing called wrestling. And I still remember Dad saying to me, hey, that stuff's fake. And then I'm like, I have no idea what this is all about because I've never watched it. But then that's why I got to see the Hulkster on TV for the first time. And it drew me in right away with the whole all-American, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, and be a good citizen, be a good Hulkamaniac. And it was absolutely awesome. I fell in love with it. And I watched wrestling right up till the end of the Attitude Era. All the while, I'm watching the Hulkster and seeing him go and get everybody excited. He had a machismo, a wonderful aura about him that makes you want to see what he was going to do. Even when he became Hollywood Hulk Hogan, which was his heel turn, I still watched him. I loved it. He was the greatest good guy, the worst bad guy you could see on TV. He was just somebody you wanted to see what's next. What crazy thing is he going to do? Like where Andre the Giant ripped his chain off, the cross, and all this other stuff. It was so entertaining to watch him. He filled up a lot of my childhood. I loved wrestling, and I loved it because of him originally. And I grew to love all these other wrestlers. It brought me into the sports entertainment industry. As a matter of fact, we just finished watching an A-Team episode where the Hulkster said,
I gotta get the money out of the trunk. You go over there and entertain those guys in blue.
Hey man, forget it. I'm a wrestler, not an entertainer.
No, I was into wrestling due to a friend of mine. I'm no longer friends with him. You know, you lose touch with people as you get older, but My friend was obsessed with wrestling, so we always had to watch wrestling. And who was greater than Hulk Hogan? Nobody. You know, Hulk Hogan, he just stole the show. He would come on, he'd do these interviews. You know something, Mean Gene? And he'd always point his finger. And he would have this, like, charismatic voice. He would always do the same speech. And you got so riled up. You were so excited about it. You loved hearing him. He would say, "All my little Hulkamaniacs, train, say your prayers, and eat your vitamins." And he would always say that. And then he would rip his shirt, and then he would flex, and then he would say, "And what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan and the 24-inch pythons come for you?" And I was in love. I mean, this guy, it was like a superhero come to life during the Rock and Wrestling. I was hooked. And it was due to Hulk Hogan. You know, everyone could say, oh, this, that, and the other thing. I got into wrestling because, you know, my friend started showing it to me, but then I fell in love with some of these characters. And Hulk Hogan, and I'm not ashamed to say this, was my favorite wrestler. And that's why it's hit me so hard that he's no longer with us, because I feel like, you know, wow, it can't be over already. I never got to meet the man. Never got to talk to him, but I grew up enjoying this guy. You know, everything was Hulk Hogan. When you watched WrestleManias, you weren't watching it for, you know, match number 2. You were watching it for the main event. Hulk Hogan. He's going to go against King Kong Bundy. He's going to go against Roddy Piper. Oh, he has Mr. T helping him. Oh my God, this is so great. Wow, against Ultimate Warrior. I mean, it was amazing. And Andre the Giant. How can we forget Andre the Giant? Because in WrestleMania 3, where he quote-unquote body slammed, and we all know Andre helped him with that, but that's all part of the show. I mean, it was amazing. He was a hero. He was a legend. No one did what Hulk Hogan did. You had all these other wrestlers, but nobody did the charismatic nonsense. Like, Hogan would stand in the ring and just start, like, waving his hand, pointing to the crowd, and the crowd would go crazy, like, as if he did the greatest thing ever, just by, like, acknowledging the crowd. They went crazy for him. Hulk Hogan was bigger than life. I don't know how else to explain it. He was amazing. And then, besides WrestleMania, he had a cartoon show. Do you remember Rock and Wrestling? I sure do, because that was in my time. I remember it was great, and it was heroes versus villains, and of course, he was the head of the whole entire thing. That's what I mean. It was just amazing. You don't realize how big Hulk Hogan was. Every time I went there, I went crazy. You play that Real American, the theme starts to go, the crowd went crazy. I was one of those people going crazy. Oh my God, it's Hulk Hogan. You would wave your hands, and he never disappointed. Yes, it was schlocky. He always did the same exact thing. He would do the "you can't hurt me" stuff where, you know, he suddenly gets up, he waves his finger, and then he shakes himself, and then he just beats up the guy. He does a leg drop, wins, and then goes crazy. It was the same routine every time. But we loved it because it really felt like this was real. It's like, wow, he put on such a good show every single time. I really was a very big fan of Hulk Hogan. I mean, I can't explain it. We're going to keep on talking about it. So that's my little history of how I got into Hulk Hogan. Everyone's always bad-mouthing Hogan. Oh, Hogan. You know, when you have a position that high, everyone is gunning for you. You're the top dog, right? Everyone is gunning for you. Everyone wants your job. Everyone wants your position. You do what you can to protect your status, your career that you earn.
For example, we got to hear Kevin Nash talk at one of our cons, the Huntington Comic and Toy Convention, which is, as of this recording, no longer being done. And he talked about how people gave Hulk Hogan a lot of crap about the fact that, you know, he wasn't necessarily the easiest guy to work with. They said, I actually respect him because of the fact he would protect his stick, he would protect him, but he wasn't out to trample anybody else. He was just looking out for him. And in wrestling, you have to watch out for number one because your image is your life. You can see that in any wrestling interviews. So he was a little harder to get along with, but in the profession of wrestling, you have to be careful because it is a business and you have to take care of yourself. And a lot of people will say he was the worst thing ever. But you can look back at his career, you can see what he's done, you can look at all the videos, all the dramas, all the controversies, and he is still just a man that did his best and changed a lot of people's lives along the way, for good or for worse.
Yeah, he was a hero. I mean, I don't know if you understand. It's like, Vespors mentioned, we just watched A-Team. He was in 2 A-Team episodes, and this is before he was really the Rock and Wrestling Hogan. This was right around Rocky 3, and he was in Rocky 3, by the way, folks. I mean, that's how big this guy was. In Rocky 3 as Thunder Lips. He wasn't even Hulk Hogan. He was Thunder Lips, just a generic guy playing Hulk Hogan, but it wasn't Hulk Hogan. It was Thunder Lips. I mean, that's how big this guy was. So he was in 2 A-Team episodes, and pretty much in the episode we just watched, he's along with the A-Team as if he's a member of the A-Team all of a sudden. He's like, come on, Hulkster, let's go take care of everything. I mean, you don't realize how iconic and big this guy was. Over the years, I've been watching interview after interview after interview on various media sites. Hogan was this, Hogan was that, he was horrible, he was this, he was that. okay, he made it work and you guys didn't. That's the way I take it. Was he the nicest guy in the world? No, I will definitely say he was not. But was he the meanest guy in the world? No, he wasn't that either. I mean, do you know that he's helped out people, wrestlers? We want to all think, oh, bad, oh, he did this, he did that, he did this. What about all the good stuff this man did? I mean, this guy has a list a mile long of how charitable, how helpful he was, how much he donated of his time, his money. He's tried to get the kids to do the right thing. He tried to help people that were down and out. Yet you only want to hear the bad stuff about this man. And I'm not calling him a saint. He's a regular person. I mean, we sometimes forget that people playing wrestling, and I do talk about this a lot, not on here, but in real life to people, that everyone gets mad that wrestlers did this and wrestlers did that. And I said, you do realize it's so realistic that we forget that they're playing a part. They're acting a part. It's so real feeling that we forget that Terry Bollea is not Hulk Hogan. Terry Bollea is playing the part of Hulk Hogan, but Hulk Hogan is a character, and a very specific character that has a certain personality that'll say things to do things, but Terry Bollea is Terry Bollea. I mean, people forget that's how real, and I think a lot of people get caught up in that when they badmouth Hogan. Oh, he did this, he did that. Yeah, he did this and did that because he worked very hard for his career and he wanted to protect it. You know, the second you give up on that aspiration or control of your own life, it's going to be taken away. You don't think there's some hungry young person who wants to take it all away from you? Oh, absolutely, especially in wrestling. In wrestling, they'll take away from you a second if you don't protect yourself. Every decision Hogan made in WCW was not right. I was out of wrestling at the time, but I've caught up now. No, he made a lot of mistakes, but it wasn't just him. It's not one person making mistakes. This is a whole team of people that just got a little carried away, including Hulk Hogan. Hollywood Hogan, it was a great idea, but giving him too much control was not a great idea. You know, it's kind of like when we go to conventions and we see William Shatner. It's great William Shatner doesn't want a moderator, but sometimes you need a moderator, and it's the same thing with Hulk Hogan. It's great Hulk Hogan wants creative control, but sometimes you shouldn't give him creative control. You know what I mean? As long as you're protecting his career, that shouldn't have mattered. So that's why I always got upset when people badmouth him. And again, I'm not a Hulk Hogan defender. I'm not going to say he was the greatest guy in the world, but I am going to say I appreciate what he did. I understand what he did. And I acknowledge that he was an iconic character. We lost a real legend here. I want everyone to understand that you don't have to love him. You don't even have to like him as a wrestler, but you do have to appreciate that he changed the face of wrestling. Even Ric Flair acknowledges that this man rewrote wrestling and made it very profitable and happy for a lot of people that would not have what they had if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. All right, Hulk Hogan paved the way for many a wrestler to be successful. And it's sad when people don't appreciate that. You know, you have Randy Savage, may he rest in peace, who badmouthed him on the way out. Ultimate Warrior, rest in peace, he badmouthed him on the way out. Now, hopefully, they'll have a nice little get-together and go over all this now that they're hopefully together. But that's, unfortunately, the business that you're in. And I will never badmouth Hogan for protecting himself. I will badmouth him, though, if he disrespected people and didn't write him. But I don't see that in his wrestling career. I really appreciated what he did. And it's just sad that he went out with such a whimper because he deserved better than that. But at least WWE was respecting him. He's a Hall of Famer now. Twice, by the way, he got in for NWO and for himself. And he was always invited back. So they did appreciate what he did for the business.
And that's the most important thing to take away from this, is to remember Terry Bollea as himself and as Hulk Hogan, to take the good and the bad, to remember all the lives he changed, how he brought a smile to kids' faces back in the 80s and 90s, how you rooted against him in the NWO, how you didn't like Hollywood Hulkster. Just, he left such a large legacy behind as Hulk Hogan and as Terry Bollea, which we need to remember he was a father, he was a husband, and like we want to emphasize before, a lot of people are hating on him for the bad mistakes that he made in his life, and we want to reiterate, that's part of being human. As much as we idolize Hulk Hogan, we gotta remember Terry Bollea is a human. He made some mistakes, but it's always good to remember the good with the bad. And as far as I'm concerned, he did a lot more good than he did bad in his life.
Yeah, even when he came back as Mr. America, I mean, it was very creative. I thought it was great. See, that was like the return to what we loved about Hulk Hogan. I don't know how many of you remember the Mr. America shtick. It was 2003. I, again, wasn't into wrestling. I caught up with all this. Hogan was banned by Vince McMahon. This was during the Attitude Era. So I think it was Stephanie allowed him to come back, but he was hiding under the guise of Mr. America. And it's pretty much just Hulk Hogan wearing a red, white, and blue mask over him, but he talked exactly like Hulk Hogan, and he called everyone the Hulkamaniacs. It was the funniest thing ever. And that's what I mean. Even as Mr. America, he had fun with it. He just was trying to entertain and enjoy things. You know, it's like everyone takes everything so seriously. It was some of the funniest stuff I ever saw, and unfortunately the footage is long gone, it's been removed, but if you could ever find where they gave him the lie detector and Vince McMahon is the only one being buzzed on it, it is the funniest thing I think I ever saw of Attitude Era, because again, I didn't really watch it. So that's what I mean. I want to remember Hulk Hogan for the hero. I had all his toys. I still remember all the Hasbro, and they would always win. You know, you had all the figures, but of course, Hulk Hogan's figure had to win. It's Hulk Hogan. Hey, he can't lose. So Hulk Hogan had to always be on top of everybody. And I had the poster. I remember I had Hulk Hogan's poster hanging on my wall as a kid, and unfortunately I don't have that poster, and I wish I did. I never had that #1 finger, but looking back at it, I really wish I did, because that was so cool. And my biggest regret is I never got to meet him. You know, me and Vester do a lot of conventions, and we have some people on our wish list. As I said, Frank Welker, who we are going to meet. I don't care what it takes, we're going to meet Frank Welker. Weird Al was on the list, we met Weird Al, but Hulk Hogan was on that list. And no, we probably weren't going to get his autograph because it's very expensive, but I did want to just see him in person. I saw him in so many matches, but I never got to see him, like, just sitting there hanging out with people, and it's my saddest regret that I never get to see him, you know?
And I guarantee you that if we met him, it wouldn't be like when we met Ric Flair, who had a bodyguard looking over his shoulders like, Rick, sign these, shut up, and move along. Like I said, I still love Ric Flair. He was still probably one of my favorite heels of all time, right up there at the $1 Million Man.
That's right. My most memorable match with Hogan was SummerSlam, actually live at that event, and that event wasn't more famous for the Hogan match. It was actually more famous for the wedding. That's the event where Macho Man, quote-unquote, married Miss Elizabeth. They were already married in real life, but they did a fake, they're now going to get married, cafe, I guess it's called, when storyline. So they did that whole wedding thing. I was there live, and it was Hogan against the Iraqi version of Sergeant Slaughter, where it was Iron Sheik acting as someone else. And I remember being at that event, and I was there for Hulk Hogan, of course. I wasn't there for anything else. Who cares about the stupid wedding? I was there for the Hulk Hogan match, and I will still remember being there, and everyone was waving their American flags, because that's what Vince did. He always turned a war into a good guy versus someone representing the war. He always did that. You know, with the Soviets, he did that, and then with the Iraqis. And he was waving the flags everywhere. Oh, it was such a great event. I mean, Hulk Hogan, it was just so over the top. I know people in his later life didn't like him, but he was an old man. Come on, guys. You know, you gotta appreciate what this man did. I will never feel guilty or sorry for ever saying I was a very big, and still am, Hulk Hogan fan, and I'm gonna miss him dearly. And I'm glad at least we can honor him here properly. You know, in our videos, we always mention Hogan jokes. Watch our very first video. Day 1 video was WrestleFest. Which characters did we use? Hulk Hogan and the Big Boss Man. Big Boss Man is one of my favorites too. May he rest in peace. We're losing so many wrestlers, and that's why I can't stand all these wrestlers that are gone. But watch our first video. We even have a short of it. Vespors did one of the funniest impressions of Hulk Hogan. And I mean, that's how we started our show. I want you guys to realize we started our retro show imitating Hulk Hogan almost 4.5 years ago now, Vester. I mean, it all comes back to Hulk Hogan somehow, because every time Hogan comes up in something, we make sure to highlight him. And every N64 game he was in, we highlight him. All the WWF Nintendo games, we highlight him. We've made jokes and commercials with him. I mean, anytime you can get Hulk Hogan onto the show, we did it. That's how iconic this man was. And anytime you hear someone interviewing, let me tell you something, you know it's Hulk Hogan. I mean, you don't even have to guess. You know it's an impression of Hulk Hogan.
Now, I've seen him in all the WrestleManias he was in, because we went and bought the DVDs and went back and watched them, and I loved every one of them that he was involved in, because they were always so over the top. As Ramsey said before, they were predictable, but they were fun because you wanted to believe. And out of all those WrestleManias, to me, the best match he ever had in a WrestleMania was against Andre the Giant, because of the huge payoff from the build up to it, to what was happening. It was a event, and something I feel that every wrestling fan should go back and rewatch. Look at the Hulkster in his heyday. Enjoy what Terry Bollea gave us all. How he entertained us. How he was probably one of the best wrestlers of all times. Not necessarily because of his physique, but because he was able to keep us entertained and rooting for him.
I mean, there's so much more we can mention. He had a TV show, Hogan Knows Best, with his former wife, and he was married 3 times, Vester. Did you realize that? I didn't even realize that until a few years ago. That I knew he divorced Linda, but I didn't even realize he divorced his second wife, Jennifer. So Hogan lived a life, you know. He just enjoyed his life and did what he had to. And again, I'm not going to defend his character. I'm never one that's like, oh, they go through lives like nothing. He lived his life, and he was still very active to the day he died. And Howard Stern calls himself the king of all media. Hulk Hogan is almost the king of all media. He was in wrestling, music, movies, TV shows, cameos. I mean, you mentioned it. Comic books he was into. He was almost into everything you could think of. He had his own business. He was in Florida. He had his own store, Hulk Hogan. I wanted to get to that store, and hopefully he'll still be around, even though he's no longer with us. He had his own business venture. I mean, this guy was not afraid to get his hands dirty. Do you remember he was in Gremlins 2 as a cameo? Remember?
Yep,
the Gremlins were ruining the movie.
We have gremlins in the projection booth. Could you have this? Gremlins? In this theater? Now?
Okay, you guys, listen up. People paid good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth. Do I have to come up there myself? Do you think the Grimsters can stand up to the Hulkster? Well, if I were you, I'd run the rest of Gremlins 2 right now.
Sorry, folks. It won't happen again.
What wasn't he in? We could go on and on, but we'll go on forever. We can't. We have to end it, unfortunately. I just don't want it to end because it's so sad that a hero of mine is no longer with us, Vespor. And it really is hitting me. I'm very sad and that we've lost a legend.
That's right. So what you need to do now to get over this is get on your N64, throw in any wrestling game with him in it, and just get out there and be this epic, over-the-top guy.
Alright, so I'm just gonna leave it with rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Thank you for everything that you gave to my life. I will never forget everything you did for as a kid. As an adult, not so much, but I did want to meet you in real life. So obviously I still had that affliction that you gave me as a kid. I still idolized you and thought you were great. You will be greatly missed by not just me or Vespor, but by millions and millions of people. There's definitely a void now in the world without someone like Hulk Hogan in it any longer.
Thanks for the memories. Thanks for all you've done. I still remember to take my vitamins, say my prayers, and train.
What you gonna do when Vespor and Razes run wild on you? And you know something? We are still gonna honor wrestling here. We're still gonna, every time Hogan shows up, we're gonna act like business as usual. But just realize we probably wouldn't be doing all this if it wasn't for someone like Hulk Hogan. So something you have to appreciate. Alright, that's all, folks. August 11, 1953 to July 24, 2025. Terry Bollea, aka Hulk Hogan, rest in peace, and we'll see you all next time.
Here on Vespors Retro Reviews. Yeah, don't forget to leave your comments about the best memories you have of Hulk Hogan.
We want to hear them all. Any memories, anything you have to say of this man. A real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. Goodbye, Hogan.
Yep.